There are going to be two parts to this video. The first bit where I talk about the debt and I talk about why David Sullivan is probably not too likely to sell up West Ham if we get relegated. The other part is going to be what I promised you for the past couple of days. It's a little look at the West Ham squad on the screen using all the technology. I'm going to try and look through and see who's going to stay with us and if, as, when, whatever you believe, we go down to the Championship, which I think is probably a 95% likelihood or something like that. Probably more, probably 99% likelihood. So we're going to go and have a little look at that now. I don't know what I'm smiling for. I think I've just become delirious and becoming a little bit resigned to it. A massive thank you to everybody that's watched videos over the last 2-3 weeks. The numbers have been amazing on the channel, actually. So really, really pleased, and can't thank you enough as you start to get into what could happen if we drop down the Championship. It's certainly been it's been reassuring to see the numbers on the channel, which I'm really, really thankful for. And thanks has had a little spike of subscribers over the last few days. So I did say the other day, check if you've not subscribed, or if you are subscribed, and ding the bell, hit the bell next to the subscribe button, and there was at least 300 people did. So yeah, I can't thank you enough, really. Thank you very much indeed for that. Okay, so let me tell you a little. It's not really a story, it's quite a short story. I was on Twitter, or X as it's known now, and I had a conversation the other day about West Ham's debt. I mentioned it on the video. So I'd had a previously an old sort of conversation with Kieran Maguire, who of course is the football finance expert. And I thought, well, you know what, I'll be a little bit cheeky. He's replied to me on a number of occasions. I thought I'll rekindle. I'll use the same thread, and I'll rekindle the conversation, if you know how it works on DMs. And I said, Kieran, do you know what the situation is with West Ham's borrowing in terms of players? Because when debt is discussed, people don't tend to factor in what you owe for a player. So the obvious example would be, we buy Lucas Paqueta for £50 million. We pay £10 million straight away. Then if we get him on a 5-year deal or whatever, we would. It's not this simple, but for the purposes of this conversation, we basically pay, Olympique Lyonnais in that case, £10 million a year. So after the first year, we still owe Olympique Lyonnais 40 million. So I asked him, I said, do you know, because a lot is talking about with the debt, with the lending facility. I said to Kieran, do you know what West Ham owe in basically debt to other clubs for players that we've purchased? And he said, well, I can't tell you now. He said, I know exactly what it was up to, I think it was March, was it either March or May 2024. He said it was 190 million. He said, but that's gone up now. It can't give us the precise figures because you only really know the figures once West Ham produce their accounts, and obviously the accounts are always sort of a year and a bit behind anyway. So 190 odd million, which has gone up. I had a look at it using that as a base figure. I looked at it and I thought, okay, we're probably looking, if we go down, at about 250 million. Now, I'm not going to bore you with everything and all the details. You get it. You can think of the players for yourself. The vast majority of you watching this are West Ham fans. You know who the players are. There's always a case, of course, that clubs will owe you money. So we've just sold Luis Guilherme, would be probably the best example. We just sold Luis Guilherme to Sporting Lisbon. I think it was something like 14 million euros. And then if they sell him, we get, I think there's some bonuses as well. And if they sell him, we get 10%. Forget that. They might not sell him. Might not even hit the bonuses. You just don't know. But in effect, we're probably getting about £3.5 million a year from Luis Guilherme. And that's how it works. Now, as you know, if you watch these videos, West Ham are nowhere near as good at selling players as we are I'm not suggesting we're good at buying players, but we never offset it with sales. We're not Brighton Hove Albion here. We did sell Declan Rice. That much is true, but we took a lot of the money up front. Well, actually, we took all of the money in 18 months, unless they win the Champions League or something, we get another 5 million. But within 18 months, they gave us 100 million. I think as well, Mohamed Kudus being sold to Tottenham, part of the deal there was that they gave us quite a chunk up front. I don't think we're getting loads of money over the years on that. So there's not a lot coming in. So the truth of the matter is, if we went down to the Championship, we would still owe about £150 million. Now, that's not abnormal, by the way, for clubs in the Premier League to owe that sort of money. That's just how transfers are done. It would be abnormal for a club going into the Championship to owe that kind of money. Particularly one that doesn't own its own stadium, because you can't then borrow against the stadium. Factor in that we have borrowed against future season ticket money, Premier League ticket money. Factor in that we owe, I think it's Chadwell Heath. We've got 3 training grounds, you see. We owe money on one of them, or we borrowed money against one of them, Chadwell Heath. And then one other thing that Kieran Maguire said, you also owe £5 million to Barclays. Not me, fortunately. They wouldn't get a fiver out of me. £5 million to Barclays. And there's a £40 million credit facility as well. Now, I don't know if the Tati Castellanos and Pablo Felipe, Pereira, de Jesus, I don't know if that's come out of the lending facility. I just don't know. We'd owe a lot of money. So I think there's this. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a belief. I think there's a hope. West Ham get relegated, Sullivan leaves. I'm not so sure. I think the debts are so vast, I almost think he's got to stay here and service them. He would have to stay here and try and get West Ham promoted, because if you're going to buy the club, you're taking on those debts. Now, as I say, a lot of clubs, anyone buying a club is going to take on a club that owe transfer fees to other clubs, because that's the way it's structured. But a club that's just come down from the Premier League would, I don't know. I'm betting when Luton got relegated, they didn't have anything like that. I bet, but when Burnley get relegated, if Burnley get relegated, they won't hold anything like, they won't owe anything like that kind of money. It's quite steep what West Ham will get. So I just think it's not definite, far from definite. I'm not even sure it's likely. That's what I want to say. I'm not sure it's likely. Everyone's holding out hope. David Sullivan, get relegated, sell up. I've had enough of this. I don't know. Now, there was something else that I was quite interested in, and I'm trying to do a little bit of digging and find out a little bit more. Actually, David Sullivan's liability on West Ham is not particularly high, because he's not put much of his own money in. So David Sullivan's not losing a load of money. If you go and check what the Forbes rich list was last year. He's up there. He's worth about £1 billion. 1.2 billion. I don't know, something like that. I believe his liability in West Ham is about 32 million. I think that's possibly his money that he's put in. Obviously, they gave loans, but the loans got paid back, and there was interest on those loans. I think it's something like that. So even if it all went belly up, he doesn't lose a fortune. What he loses is money he might have been able to gain by the sale of it. So maybe he doesn't become a billionaire. Maybe he's not a billionaire anymore. Maybe that's it, because some of his net worth will have the value of West Ham factored into it. You saw very similar to David Gold. You would always read in the rich list that David Gold was worth 450 million. It was always there. When you look at what actually the valuation of his estate in real terms, once he went through probate, it was a lot lower. It was a lot less, basically. So I'm not suggesting 32 million pounds not a lot of money. It is, but when you're very, very rich and you've got hundreds of millions, it's probably, not the worst thing in the world. So yeah, I'm not. He doesn't have to. I think that's my point. Anyway, there you go. So that's part one, which is very very different from part two, which is if we go down to the Championship, what would happen? Which players would stay? Should I should I stay or should I go? That's what this bit is called. Should have done a jingle. Well, you did sort of have a jingle then, didn't you? Where is it? Right. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. You can see it on the screen. Should I stay or should I go? It's more, will they stay or will they go? Are these players going to play for us in the Championship? It's a little game. Play along if you want. Let me know in the comments. Mads Hansen. I'm going to say yes, but I don't believe it, because I think we'll get rid of him anyway. We've been linked to loads more goalkeepers over the last few days. I've got a feeling. I'm sorry to say this. I ever wish to make anyone feel worse by watching these videos. I would always hope that that's not the case. But I've got to say what's on my mind. I'm just wondering if Nuno is going to sort of decimate the squad, get rid of loads of players, bring in ones that maybe are not great, and then he's going to get sacked. But um, I haven't made up my mind on Mads Manson. I don't know whether he can catch or not yet. I don't know. I've not seen enough, and it's probably unfair to judge him on what we saw. Okay, but let's say yes, Mads Manson could play for West Ham in the Championship. Fabianski probably could as well. He might do another year. Areola, no. I mean, he's on massive money. I don't think anyone's going to take the wages he's on, but we'd have to get rid of him. He's on far too much money. Worth noting that the players, though, for all the doom and gloom I've said, the players are on 50, pretty much all of them are on 50% reduced wages if we drop down to the Championship. Carl Walker-Peters, yes. Yes, I think Carl Walker-Peters plays for us in the Championship. And I think he'd be a really, really good player in the Championship. I think he's on about 70 grand a week. He'd be on 35 grand a week in the Championship. I like him. As a player, I like him. Max Kilman, do I think he'd... Look, no one's buying Max Kilman off of us. Well, unless I'd be very surprised if it happened. I would be very disappointed if he couldn't play in the Championship. Is it perfect? No. I know there'll be people saying, "Oh, yeah, even Championship standard." I know what you're saying. I'm not even going to sit here and argue with you, even though I've just invented an argument. And you know what I mean. I wouldn't argue with anyone that wouldn't waste time arguing on it. I think he's been so poor. I totally understand anybody that would think that. Would he play for us in the Championship? Yeah, he's on big money though. Big money. Even half he must be on over 100 grand a week. I mean, 50 or grand a week for a player like that. The Championship, no way. I'd be very confident Walker-Peters would be a much better Championship player than Kilman. Igor, well, he's going back to Brighton. No point talking about it. Juff, I think he'd have to. I know he's got ambitions to play for Real Madrid and all the rest of it. I think it'd do him a bit of good, actually, to be fair. I think he'd be one of the best left backs in the Championship. I think he needs to learn how to defend. He needs to learn how to defend the box. I think actually when the game's in front of him, he's very good at winning the ball. When he's got to turn, I think he's got to learn. There's some few nuances he's got to learn. Mavropanos, I think he'd go, but he could play for us in the Championship. I don't see any reason why not. You got to remember, I think if we were in the Championship, Nuno's not there. So I'm imagining somebody else in charge of us. And I think there's a lot of managers who'd make a lot of our players look a lot better. Jean-Claire Todibo, no chance, he's gone. Wan-Bissaka, no. I mean, they're both too good. They're not Championship players. And somebody would get a real bargain with Wan-Bissaka, a real bargain, because we didn't pay too much for him. And yeah, I'd be gutted, actually. Got to say. Scarles would obviously stay with us. Mayers would obviously stay with us. Ward-Prowse, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Really interesting. Yesterday in the press conference, Nuno Espirito Santo basically told him he can go, which is, here's a little theory for you. I think Ward-Prowse was going to go, but Ward-Prowse has basically said, I'm not going yet. I think he's waiting to see if Nuno gets the sack, because he might be thinking, hold on, maybe someone else will come in and might get another chance. Would he play? The answer is yes, he would play for us in the Championship. Do I want him to? No. I think we've got so many young midfielders. I just wouldn't want him to get a game. Lucas Paqueta, no, forget it. Fernandes, I would love him to. I think if he was, he'd be the best player in the Championship. But he's really good, really, really good. I'm not sure how much we'd get for him. I mean, and the other thing, you might well look, and the clubs might look at him and think, hold on, he's been relegated twice. So there would be that. But I think he's better than that statistic would demonstrate. 50-50 on it. I'd love to, but I could also understand if someone else come and take him. West Ham would have to be careful and not on the, not let him go on the cheap. And we'd have to do that. And because we'd have let people like Paqueta go, we'd have let people like Wan-Bissaka go, we'd let people like Todibo go. Even though I mentioned all the money we would owe, we should be able to get enough money back in that first season that we would be able to hang on to the likes of Fernandes. Rodriguez, I don't know. Actually, I should know what his contract. Anyway, no, he won't play the Championship. I don't want him to either. Magassa, I'd love him to still be here. Lazio were in for him before Nuno put him in a team. Lazio were in for him. I suspect bigger clubs would take him, and I suspect we might get offered more than we paid for him. what do we pay for him? 19 million, 20 million, something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if someone came in 23 million. We might be tempted just to do it. I think Souček could go as well. Potts, no way. He stays. Irving, I just can't see it. I can't see it. Again, I don't think he gets into the team in the championship. He needs to go. He's not even. I don't say he's not young anymore. I wish I was as old as he is. You know, he's like 26 and he's or something like that. 25, 26. Needs to play football. George Earthy, he's gone on loan to Bristol City. I would hope he would be with us in the championship. Kante, yes. Orford, yes. And it's because of look at all these midfielders. Why I don't want Irving, Rodriguez, Ward-Prowse to stick around. I just don't want it. Sorry if I'm moving the screen. I don't want to give anyone a headache. Somerville, yes. I'm not far from convinced he's Premier League standard anyway. His best season ever was in the Championship. Wilson, well, I don't think he'll be here in 2 weeks. Never mind in 6 months. That's pretty pointless. Now it becomes interesting. Tati Castellanos in the Championship. That's really tough. Depends what wages he's on. I've got to make. I don't know why I'm pausing and hesitating. That's not. I've got money riding on this. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say he goes. He gets bought. We cut our losses. I think he might be a full crook, not in terms of injuries. I think he plays. I just think we might just cut our losses on him. Pablo in a championship. I'm going to say no. I think again. I'm going to call it. I think he goes back to Portugal or Brazil on loan, something like that, because we won't be able to afford to sell him, unless I've got it drastically wrong. Yeah, I'd be very, very interested with that one. And again, but it all depends on next manager. Jared Bowen, no chance. He goes where he wants, basically. Oh, hold on. You've got some more down here. Alvarez, no. Kalen Casey, yes. Maxwell Cornet, no. Fulcrug's gone. I'll refresh this as well. Heggie, yes. Callum Marshall, yes. So there you go. There you go. How do I get rid of that? Hold on. 2 seconds. There you go. Let me know what you think. Have I got some wrong? I'm sure I've got some wrong. I'm sure I've got some right. I'd be interested to know what you think. I don't know enough about the championship to say there's enough there for us to walk the championship. I think we need more. I think we need a proven goal scorer, like another centre-back. That might happen. We might get the centre-back, and I think we need more on the wings. There's no doubt about that. Big investment on the wings. I think you might find a left wing. We've got one of the best left wingers or the best left winger in the championship. It's, might have found Guilherme might have been the best right winger in the championship, but I guess we'll never know. Now, we're a little bit foolish to sell him as early as we did. I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you for indulging me again. Thanks for everybody that subscribed recently and just watched the videos and give it a thumbs up and all that stuff you've done. It's not gone unnoticed. Been really buzzing about it, actually. So yeah, thank you very much. And that's across all Hammers Chat channels. That's across both the channels and a Patreon. So many of you lovely people have joined up on Patreon, and thank you so much for that. I hope you're enjoying it. We've got a free trial going on if you want to go and check that out, or 20% off if you sign up for the year. But yeah, all of it really. Thank you very much indeed. I know it's a bit crappy at the moment, West Ham, and it's more than a bit crappy, understatement, of course. But yeah, we very much appreciate it, and we obviously want to keep on talking about West Ham and try and hopefully have something to cheer about. Well, I'm sure we will. We've got the game against QPR, haven't we? That's something that hopefully should be a little bit more positive. And yeah, anyway, after that, you never know, do you? Right, I'll catch you lot later. Have a lovely weekend, everyone.